Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Miranda and I teach about everything and anything related to the trucking industry and how to navigate it. If this is a topic that interests you, feel free to subscribe down below. Well, it's the middle of the month and you know what that means. That means it's time to look at what is going on in the trucking market as of October 2022.
Just to warn you, the situation ain't looking good.
Oh man, this month has been a struggle, that's for sure. But let's look at the facts. Ready? Let's go! So if you have watched any of my monthly update videos on the market, you know that I always start with the price of fuel. So let's take a look what is going on. As a reminder, the lowest fuel price was in January of 2022, where the average price per gallon for diesel was $3.72. The highest month for fuel was June, where the price was $5.74. Now, after June, we started going down, but as of October, we're at $5.25. So basically, we're climbing back up with those fuel prices, which is unfortunate. Now, for those visual people, I did make a little graph here. So as you can see, June right here is the highest. And now in October, we're climbing back up again. Now, the other thing I like to do is I like to show the top 5 most expensive states for fuel compared to last month, and the top 5 least expensive states for fuel compared to last month. So currently, as of October, the top 5 most expensive states are California. Now, pay attention to this. California is at $6.66 per gallon for fuel. Does this number look suspicious to anyone? I was kind of shocked when I saw that average, but you know what? It makes perfect sense for California. Now, last month, California was also the top most expensive state, but it was at $6.31. So the diesel price basically jumped over 30 cents per gallon. Next is Oregon. Oregon is actually lower than it was last month, which is kind of surprising. Washington is higher than it was last month. Washington and Oregon are at the same level right now. The 4th most expensive state was Pennsylvania this month. Last month it was Michigan. And the 5th most expensive was Nevada. Last month it was Indiana. So these are the most expensive states right now. Now let's look at the least expensive states. Of course, my lovely Texas is number 1 on the cheapest fuel, even though it did go up from last month by about 20 cents, let's say. The second cheapest is Georgia this month at $4.81. Last month, the second cheapest was Mississippi at $4.59. Mississippi is actually the 3rd cheapest this month, then it's Louisiana, and then it's Oklahoma. And last month it was Louisiana, then Delaware, then Oklahoma. So this is something to note. You see, the states, they changed. The only thing that does not change, it seems, is that California is always the most expensive state for fuel, and Texas is always the cheapest state for fuel. So the next graph I want to show you is our reefer rate per mile, and this is from the beginning of September until right now, October 15th. What is it, October 15th? Yes, it's October 15th. Wow, I live in a vortex. So as you can see, there's $2, $2.50, $3, $3.50, and so on. This is the per mile rate. So September started off pretty good and then it kind of went wonky. Now this is where we are in October for reefer. Now, why did it make such a big jump? I hope you guys can still see that. What is going on here? Like, what is this? This is the Midwest, folks. This is what happens when you go to the Midwest. So this is when we were running from places like Minnesota to Illinois to Ohio to Missouri. This is where you want to stay if you are a reefer operator. Now let's take a look at the dry van. Now again, as a reminder, it starts from the beginning of September until October. And then the rate per mile is from $1.50 to $5 per mile. Basically, September was so-so and October kind of died until this moment right here. So what happened here? Well, this is a great rate per mile that we got, $5 per mile with deadhead, but the total load amount was $400 because it was an 80-mile load, something like that. Let's compare reefer to dry van. As you can see, in September, or for the first half of September, there were moments where the dry van, which is the red line, was outdoing the reefer. But right now, as of October, the reefer is definitely doing better than the dry van. Something to note, if you have a dry van right now, the market is pretty cold, and I'm going to show you If you have a reefer, there's more chance to make money. In terms of flatbed, I believe there's also more chance to make money, although again, I don't have experience with flatbeds, but I do believe I will very shortly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you our gross income per load for our owner-operated dry van versus owner-operated reefer. So as you can see, here's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and so on. As you can see, in general, the reefer is getting more money per load. You can see the blue line is always above the red one. The only outliers here are really this point with the dry van and right here and right here. Now, something to note, this does not tell you about the efficiency, because the load rate may be high, as in the flat rate, the total gross, but there might be so many miles that the rate per mile is really crap. So this is just to show you the overview of the gross income dry van versus reefer. Now, as you remember, I promised you that I will show you the market map. So this is for the dry van. We have September last month and this month, October. As you can see, in October, the West Coast died. In September, you could still get some loads from California and some part of Washington and Utah. Right now, there is nothing. On the other hand, the southern part of New Mexico is a little bit more active this month. This part looks pretty much the same. This died. Basically, the market is, it's declining. From what I see, it's declining quite rapidly for the dry van. Now let's take a look at the reefer. Here's our reefer market map, again, September and then this month. So you can see that the West Coast, it did cool down. It's not as red as it was in September. California is horrible right now. Don't go to California if you have a reefer. There are no loads coming out. Now, what we also can see is that these places, the Midwest right here, is hotter. Right now, the Midwest is the place to be. Other than that, it's pretty similar to last month, but the Midwest is where you want to be if you have a reefer. Now let's take a look at the flatbed, even though, again, I am not familiar with flatbeds, but I do have a market map for them. So here's our flatbed for September, and here's for October. So as you can see, the West Coast died for the flatbed completely. I'm telling you, the West Coast has terminated its existence. Now, right here, it's getting worse. It's not as red as it was in September, although some places in the Midwest are getting a little bit better, but in general, it looks like the market is cooling for the flatbed as well. Now, of course, every month I also show the DAT trend lines, and I take a look at the spot load posts versus the truck posts. So you can see in comparison, the week of October 3rd through 9th versus September to the beginning of October, there were more loads posted, but there were also more trucks posted. Actually, more trucks were posted than there were loads, so that's not good. Van spot rates did not change. Flatbed spot rates decreased by 0.3%, and the reefer spot rates increased by 0.1%. No comment. Now let's take a look at the three equipment types. As a reminder, we have the dry van, the flatbed, and the reefer. As you can see, in general, it looks like September and October, according to DAT, is staying level right now. But that is not my experience, to be honest. It is going down. As a reminder, I'm going to say this again. Do you see this rate of $2.82 per mile average in October? That is not true. That does not exist for a reefer right now. So I'm not sure where they're getting their numbers. Now I have one more chart I want to show you, which I never showed before. This is the average rejection rate. What is the rejection rate? This is how many carriers on the spot market say, no, I am not going to haul this load for this price. Around February, right here, this was February, the rejection rate was 22.18%, which means a lot of carriers were saying, nah, this load is paying too low. Right now, the rejection rate is 4.93%. What does that mean? That means that the more carriers are agreeing to the posted loads, the less likely the brokers are going to hike up those prices. So that's why the spot market is going down, because the rejection rate is also going down. Now that we've looked at all the numbers and the facts and the figures, let me tell you about my personal experience in today's market. First of all, California finally terminated its existence. Loads from California, whether for a dry van, reefer, or flatbed, from what I have seen, are horrible. There is an extremely limited amount of freight and therefore the rates are really, really low. Now, in general, the West Coast is pretty much a death sentence for dry vans. So if you have a dry van, don't go there. For reefers, Oregon and Washington are still more or less manageable, although those two states don't offer anything outstanding. Now, speaking of outstanding, if you have a reefer, the Midwest is where you really want to be, especially the state of Minnesota. Minnesota is where you can make a killing if you have a reefer trailer. The other thing I've noticed is, of course, fuel. I can feel it, I can see it. Fuel is up everywhere, and with the sliding load rates, well, it's really not good. Now, a little fact, I actually uploaded my first video almost a year ago. Halloween will be exactly a year. Looking back at those videos, you will see that I posted one where we made $44,110 gross on one reefer truck in October of 2021. Oh, how times have changed. Like I said in my post yesterday, success, especially in this industry, is like climbing up a slippery slope covered in black ice. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys what to do, but I am going to tell you what I plan to do. And what I plan to do is I fully plan to kick this market's butt, even if it costs me my sanity.
Don't worry, Miranda. Your sanity is long gone already.
The reality is, those who manage to stay afloat in this hellhole are those that are going to be much better off when the market finally does turn around, whenever that will be. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. And for those of you who are struggling in the current market, I wish you the strength, the persistence, and the sanity to keep on fighting. I'll see you guys in the next video.